Welcome back. As always, my favorite part about doing these podcasts, I know I've made mention of it multiple times, is some guests are old friends, some guests are brand new friends, but I always get the opportunity to continually just learn. And I think that's so important. I was doing a teenage mastermind session last night. It's the 19th one I've done, and it's actually been officially a year this next week. And in that teenage mastermind session, I think there were 22 kids. And I just told the kids there as they were listening to the speaker, I said, look, if you're listening and you're not getting something out of it, then that's on you, because no matter what, you learn, I don't want to do this, or I do want to do this, or I would change that, or I want to challenge that, or it's one takeaway or something like that. And I love Bec's story. You're going to hear Bec's story here in a little bit. We'll do a rapid fire, but I love the fact that I always say true wealth's ability. It's not what you have in the bank. And of course, the goal is always to find the one true company you can stay at forever. It's very rare that someone joins one and stays that first one forever. I always recommend, if you can, stay. Even though I didn't stay with my first, I always am on that side. That's the goal, because the grass isn't always greener. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you got company issues, culture issues, ethical issues, right? Whatever your reasons. There's no judgment. I'm not going there. Maybe we should do a whole episode separately on that, because you got to do both sides and explain it really well. But the fact that she's built it twice and had massive success, to me, shows that true wealth is ability. It's not what you have in the bank, and how you started all over from scratch. I think it was 5 years ago, and you've just been a master at attraction marketing. So why don't you, Bec, let's start out with maybe give us a little bit of prior to network marketing, who you were, what you were doing, what you like, and just give us a quick highlight on that. And then I want to dive into some of the highlight reel accomplishments that you've had. And then of course we can dive into some of the setbacks and some of the secret sauce strategies you use to crush it.
I love it. I love it. Well, Rob, thank you so much for the intro. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to dive in with you. So 12 years ago, I was introduced to network marketing. Prior to that, I was in my 20s and fresh out of college and working corporate jobs in New York City, and very, very quickly realized that I am not made to work for somebody else. It just is it's not in my DNA. I tried real hard and was just always looking for ways to have more freedom in my life. I didn't like having to ask for time off. I didn't like having to sit at a desk until 5:30 when I had nothing left to do. I'm like, this is weird. What a waste of my time, So I quickly realized I didn't think that was going to be the path for me. And somebody told me about this whole health coaching thing. So I went and got certified as a health coach. And with that certification, there was 6 months of teaching you how to be an entrepreneur. And that was what really got me excited. So I did the whole health coaching thing, learned how to kind of pound the pavement, do networking, do all the things, and started building up that business. I did that for about a year. And then a year in, I was at a networking group, and there was another health coach there, and she was in network marketing. And she was like, do you have any kind of residual income? And I was like, no, but that sounds really good.
That's it's always fun to hear people's journeys, because I think a lot of times we think of reasons why someone wouldn't be interested. And I know for me, I had to do this whole mental exercise. I didn't even tell people about it for years because I was just embarrassed, right? It was total ego, but I had to look at someone if I was reaching out to them, regardless if I just met them on social media or had been a friend. And I had to think of the reasons why they should look at this. Because it was always, oh, they're too rich. Oh, they're too poor, right? Oh, they're too smart. Oh, they're not smart enough for this. And it was the same excuses on the opposite end. Oh, they have too much time. Oh, they're too busy. And so that's why I love hearing backgrounds, and especially, I mean, you're coming as an East Coaster, right? Northeast, where there aren't a lot of network marketers there. And a lot of people would say, people there are just not interested. So seeing someone like you come in and just smash it is phenomenal. Now, I don't want to misquote, but I believe, if not the top, one of the top, 2 or 3 earners in your current company. Is that correct?
I'm the number 3 earner. So that would be exact.
I was right. I was right there. I didn't want to like do the network marketing exaggeration, right? We're not going to do the take your best month times the check by 3 and act like it's the average month. We want to be clear. Yeah. So we're going to do that. That's pretty phenomenal. And what would you say? We don't mention company names, but what does your company do in annual sales?
This past year, in our 5th year, we did, I think, 180 million.
So $180 million company, and she's the number 3 earner. I would pay very, very close attention when you get successful people like this. So we all have our different secret sauces and our different formulas and things that we do. I know that you've been big on attraction marketing, and I love that because you have a lot of the old school techniques that you learned. And this is not bashing anyone like new modern. A lot of the new modern are learning the most incredible things, but they haven't learned how to develop some of the old school skills. And I think both are important. And you've really merged those two to do attraction marketing done right. So what would you say? Because there's a lot of people that have their different definitions of what attraction marketing is. Attraction marketing done right. Like, what did you do? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, attraction marketing, I feel like has become such a hot topic, broad term, and it can look really different for different people. For me, it was a strategy to build influence that didn't require me to drive hours and hours to do home parties anymore. So that's what I did my first several years in this industry was events, home parties, hotel meetings. I feel like I sound like a dinosaur saying that, by the way, because does anyone talk about those things anymore? Not really.
We could probably swap stories if we had time, traveling 10 hours and 20 hours to events, thinking there are going to be thousands of people and there's like 3 or 4 people there, but we won't go there today.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, I mean, I think about those times and, I remember I missed my daughter's first soccer game on a Saturday because I had to go drive to this meeting and nobody showed up. And I think that was actually a big turning point for me where I was like, I love this industry, but I've got to find a different way to do it because I don't feel good missing something really important for my daughter. Now, granted, she was probably 4, so she doesn't remember. I remember though.
Yeah.
And it just felt really kind of painful. And I think actually that weekend was the weekend when I did a deep dive on social media, just trying to figure out who are these people that are using social media strategies and attraction marketing to grow online. And that research took me down some crazy paths and eventually to some mentorship to figure it out. But for me, when I think of attraction marketing, I think of a strategy that helps you build influence on social media so that rather than sending out awkward messages or hosting home parties or chasing people down, you're posturing yourself in a way that people are coming to you and they're asking you what you're doing. And that to me has been a total game changer because I am an East Coaster, Rob, as you said. And let me tell you something, prospecting in person on the East Coast is not fun.
Oh, those that know, if you know, you know.
If you know,
that leads me to another question. And I like that because we always preach it's a home business, right? And I remember when I started, I'm like, home-based business, what? That's a bunch of BS, right? Because I'm not home. I'm always gone and missing, kids stuff. And they're telling me the dream. And so then you feel like, well, I'm making the sacrifice someday. And of course you got to make sacrifices, but there are worthy sacrifices and there's a right way to do it. Making a sacrifice for just a sacrifice sake is not going to equal success. And that sounds common sense, but that actually took me years to learn because I felt like, oh, I missed this, so it's like I'm declaring to myself in the world my commitment. And yeah, although that's there, some of them were actually pretty dumb, not worthwhile sacrifices. Yeah. So you just talked about how you sought out, and then you invested in some mentorship. I think this is really interesting. How much would you guess that you spent in that first year in just investing in yourself when you were, this was probably about 5-6 years ago?
I spent around $30,000.
That's that's just crazy to a lot of people that are tuning in. To me, it's not,
No.
because I know, and the cool part about it is I know for you, you were the opposite of most people. Like, hey, what's the best package? How can I get the most access to you and learn attraction marketing? Whereas most people are like, how can I pay the least amount and get the most out of it? People ask me that every so often. I don't do a lot of personal coaching. Mainly it's just top leaders. And if someone asks that question, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to be rude. It's not for you. That's okay. So I just love hearing that, because it's when you're starting out in a new company, I mean, you're scared out of your mind. Your income's gone. You're starting from scratch, right?
Yep.
And you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this the right way, which is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, when I did it, I thought it was crazy. Like, I think anyone who's listening and thinks $30,000 is crazy, like, I thought it was crazy too. My husband thought I was like out of my mind. But he's so supportive. And I think a big reason for that, and the reason why I was like, that's what I wanted to do, is because I think at the end of the day, like, the thing that matters the most in this type of business, or any business, is belief in yourself. So when I handed over that $30,000, I wasn't doing it because I believed in the mentor. I did believe in the mentor,
Yeah.
but that's not enough, right? Like, you can have the best mentor in the world, and I'm sure you've seen this, and do nothing with it, right? Like, you can pay the money and get the best, and you can do nothing with it. But really what I was seeking out was somebody to give me a roadmap, but I believed that if I had the roadmap, I was going to figure it out.
I'm thinking this out loud right now. I've never thought of it this way, but you saying it, it's like you put a deposit down on yourself.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
That comes from you, because you were just saying that. So that was my little inspiration there. And that's kind of crazy when you think about it, because it's like if you start a business and they're exactly the same, and you put 30 grand to start a business in, how much more willing are you to go through the down times and the hard times to figure it out? Whereas if you put in $100, how much are you willing? Even if it's the same exact opportunity, it really changes things. And when you said like you were betting on yourself first and foremost, even though you believed in the mentor, I think that's interesting. I've never actually thought of it that way, or, mentioned it or marketed it that way, because that really is the reality is as you do this. What would you say? I mean, for me, I've got this, fun little formula I've been trying to put together for success, and it's always like evolving and changing and too much, and then simplifying as you go. And one of the things I really focus on, after, we know how important vision is. I always say good leaders have vision, great leaders give vision. But after that, if that's in place, I feel like there's a lot of other things that fall in place. And one of those things is just environment, whether it's online, offline, and so many different things. For you, how has environment helped you, and what are some things that you've done or consistently do right now? Because you and I are very similar at protecting our time, which also is a product of, creating the right environment. So I'd love to just hear more personally, selfishly, so I can listen and you guys can all just kind of tune in.
Yeah. So when you say that, do you mean how it is that I set up an environment to
Yeah,
thrive?
whether it's online or offline, or it's law of
Yeah.
association, or it's social media, or it's,
Mhm.
sometimes there's toxic team members, or
Oh,
any
yeah.
direction you want to go.
Yeah. So I would say first and foremost, I've learned to have really good boundaries, which I, by the way, was terrible at. Like,
You can be
terrible.
the VP, but I'm the president of the Recovering People Pleaser Club. So I'm El Presidente.
Oh, Presidente. All right. I'll be your vice president, because I was terrible at it. And I was like addicted to the grind. You know what I mean? Like, I was addicted to the fact that, like, I could outwork anyone. And by the way, I can, but I now choose not to.
Yeah.
And that was the environment that I was used to. It was not getting me anywhere. The only place it was getting me to was burnout and, alienating people and things that actually really mattered to me. And it was like, my phone never shut off. I was addicted to the dopamine hits of your phone dinging, all the things. And when I started over 5 years ago, one of the things that I promised to myself was I was going to do this. I was going to do this from scratch. I was going to do this using social media, and I was going to protect my boundaries. So there's like a running joke on my team, actually, for the, the last day of the month, people are like, I was up till 3 a.m. closing out sales. And there's this joke on my team, like, if you have a question for Bec, you better get it to her by 7 p.m. Eastern, because she will stop responding. And I'm like, I will. Like, I will, because if there's that important question, you should have asked it to me 2 days ago or 24 hours ago. And I just don't subscribe to that. Now, once in a while, there's an exception to that, of course. But for the most part, yeah, like I shut off my phone around 7 p.m. every day. When I say shut off, it doesn't actually turn off, but I stop responding to messages. I do most of my communication with my team on Facebook Messenger. It's actually a good thing for me because it helps instill those boundaries, because I can still like look at a text message on my phone, but I don't open Facebook Messenger at all. So those types of boundaries have been great for me. Also in the morning, I'm a morning person. Are you a morning or an evening person?
I'm like an in-between. I know that sounds really weird. I'm not like too early, but I'm not like too early on the other side for going to bed. My wife's the go to bed really, 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 really late person.
Okay. So I'm the opposite. Right? I like to wake up at like 5:36 because that's when my brain is just the most
close. I'm at 6 a.m. So I mean, that's considered 6 a.m. and I go to bed at 11. So
I feel like that's kind of a morning person.
All right.
Right. Like
I'm feeling good right now. I'm feeling better about myself.
The night owls I know are like, I get so creative at 11 p.m. And I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping.
My brain shuts off at about 3 p.m. It's done. It's over.
Same. Yeah. So my whole morning routine thing is very important to me now. And it gives me the time before my phone starts dinging I walk 3 to 4 miles every single morning. I do some kind of personal development, whether it's listening to a podcast or reading, not a whole book, but like 10 pages, or catching up on a training call that maybe I missed the day before. So I do all of that before I really get into my work day at all. And of course, I have 2 children. They go to school around 8:30. So I'm also, kind of in the trenches with them. And same thing in the evening. So I've kind of set up my day to allow me to not burn out and to enjoy what I'm doing, and to also not be that person that people look at and go, she's always accessible. Like I'm accountable, but I'm not always accessible.
Wouldn't you say, I mean, boundaries obviously are so important. And I think the more that you step into a leadership role, the more that it's important. And I know people are, of course, are scared of saying no to people and coming off as bossy or not helpful or not service oriented. We also have to understand, as Ralph Waldo Emerson says, what you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. And so you're teaching them via duplication, right? Bad duplication of just always being accessible and available, that there is no lifestyle. Right. But my question is I don't know what percent. Sometimes I like to make up percentages and give decimals because they sound really good. It's the vast majority of network marketers could probably work about a fourth of the time that they work. So let's go with like 26.7% of people and get just as much done if they actually really set boundaries and hyper focus. But they confuse being busy with being productive because we're used to it from the job scene, right? Where like you were, I got to sit here till 5 and you hated it. Right. And so because of that, they're just like, I'm grinding, right? Addicted to the grind. I love how you said that. And so they just keep thinking work harder is going to earn more sacrifices and it's going to reach more, where the comp plan doesn't care. Comp plan is not partial to anyone, right? It's just all just numbers. Now, of course, there's culture and stuff that go into the numbers from our standpoint. Sure. But what would you say from I don't know if you have like a team weekly method of operation or daily method of operation, like if someone's going to spend their time, like, I don't know if it's a certain percentage or do these 3 things or 5 things, like what would you say?
Yeah. So I have a team daily method of operation that should be done in about 30 minutes a day, right? So again, even the daily method of operation is protecting people's time. Because I actually really think that at the very beginning, most people don't need to spend much more than that. Once they start building a team and leads start flowing in, you're going to have to put in more time. But at the beginning, especially if you're working a full-time job, I think you can bang it out in 30 minutes a day. So our daily method of operation is post on whatever your social media platform of choice is at least 5 times a week. Okay. So not even every day. But that's like on the main feed, right?
Yep.
Get in your stories every single day, 3 to 5 times.
Okay.
Do 1 to 2 follow-ups a day. Do 1 power-based reach out a day, which you're probably thinking, I thought you said you do attraction marketing. So I believe in both.
Good.
Proactive and passive marketing, I think.
I mean, if people aren't coming to you, you got to go make it happen, right?
Got to go make it happen. And it's not spammy or anti-attraction marketing. It's part of your strategy. So 1 power-based reach out a day, and then practice some sort of personal development. So that's our daily method of operation.
I like that because it encompasses growing yourself and your mindset, but then a lot of action. And if you're posting consistently, you guys got to understand with attraction marketing, even if you don't have people that are reaching out to you like you would have hoped, and maybe your inbox isn't flooded and you have people every so often, it's pretty, sparingly. Think about this. Let's say you reach out to 10 people and you only have 1 out of 10 say yes. Mm-hmm. Well, you start doing attraction marketing done right. Now, all of a sudden, they get to know you a little bit better. They start to like you, right? Or block and unfriend you, and that's okay, right? You're making room for the people that are part of your tribe. And they start to get to know you a little bit better. There starts to be a little bit more credibility. So let's just say 2 out of 10 say yes. That may not sound like a big number to you, but you just doubled your numbers from being consistent on stories and posting. And so understand that it really is that compound effect of, it's not going to just be something just happens and, those are the unicorn type posts and it just blows up. It's just chipping away, building trust, right? Building some likability, not in a fake way, in a real way. And I think that's just so important for people to do. And then of course, you're going to still do your reach outs as you go. And that's always a great exercise. I think it's just a good habit and help you get out of fear, and you just never know as you go. So I love that. And I love how you have it set up too, with just being really specific with boundaries. Last question. So one of the things that I think network marketers really feel like they struggle with, and it's not just network marketers, it's people, it's human nature, is with discipline. It's like the D word. It's like scary. It's like, now they're bound to something and that sort of thing. How do you feel like one could increase their discipline in a non-overwhelming way to have more success?
That's a really good question. And I think discipline comes completely down to vision.
I mean, just perfect. Keep going. Yeah. But I'm like, when you said that, like you got the vision, it's there. So
100%, right? Like you can't force yourself to be disciplined about something that you don't care about. You just can't. Now, if you work a job, you kind of have to do that.
And then you have the vision because you have to make ends meet, to be able to pay for food and shelter.
100%. That's actually a really good point. So when I see people get really stuck in this business, it's usually because their vision got a little bit blurry, or their belief got knocked down a little bit, which affected their vision. And when you have like a crystal clear vision, like I know exactly what I'm working towards. There's zero doubt in my mind. I know exactly what I'm working towards. I know why I do the work I do. I know why this is important to not just me, but my entire family. And I am going to show up because I am attached to that vision. Like that vision is happening. If I didn't have that vision and I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing, it would be really hard to stay disciplined, right? There's so many other things you could be doing. You could be playing pickleball, right? Like you could be watching Netflix, and those are fun things to do too. But, if you're not getting the actual things you need to get done every day, you're not going to have the lifestyle to go play pickleball in the middle of the day. And you're not going to have the lifestyle to binge on Netflix on a Sunday if you want to, which by the way, I do. People that say you can't watch TV and be successful, I don't believe that.
Well, I've watched probably every single show that's good and some that are bad. Ours is we work, do the fun stuff, do the kids stuff. We don't have a TV in our main room. And then my wife and I's thing is like, hits 9 p.m. It's like, I literally joke around, but I'm serious. The kids, I'm like, don't talk to us. We're just chilling. But of course, it's a time and a season, right? Of where we're at now. We've made the sacrifices. But also, I'm not like middle of the day during high productive time doing that. But I think it's just so important because you can't out discipline a bad vision. Think about that.
So true.
Like you can't say, and the analogy I always love to give because everyone relates with it, I'm going to go work out. This is my year. And then you just go to work out because it's supposed to be good. Well, look at people that have had heart attacks and all of a sudden now it's a lot easier for them to work out consistently. Or maybe you're going on that trip and you want to look really good, or maybe you got a high school reunion, right? Or whatever the reason is, it's got to be a clear enough vision. And there's some short-term visions that can help get you there, but ultimately you got to have the long term. And so I would challenge all of you that are listening to make time to challenge your own vision and make it more clear. Bec's is really clear. Mine is, you guys have heard mine. Mine is crazy, crazy clear. But at the same time, right, as I start arriving at, different destinations, I have to recreate and expand that to keep pushing myself. And it's not in a negative way. I mean, not last year, year before, my goal was to double my income and it was to work 15 hours a week. I didn't double it, it went up by 60%, but I didn't want to take away from lifestyle. I wanted to add to the purpose. And so it's funny because Bec and I, we had never spoken before. Our first time ever speaking was a couple weeks ago, and we didn't prep for this. And look at how many answers were so similar because I think it was Jim Rohn that said it, success leaves clues. Mm-hmm. And so for all of you, go challenge your vision, go put a deposit down, right, on yourself. And then the other thing I was really thinking of that stood out to me that you said is don't be addicted to the grind, right? You know what you really want. And that comes back to vision. Bec, where's the best place for everybody to follow you? I know you're both on Instagram and Facebook. I don't know if you're on TikTok, Snapchat, hopefully not Tinder. Where are the best places for everybody to find you?
I am not on Snapchat or Tinder, but I am on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And just your name, Bec Sadek. It sounds like say S-A-Y, right? But it's S-A-D-E-K.
Yep.
You got it. And then they'll find you. There's no special like anything in there, just super straightforward and simple.
At Bec Sadek on all those platforms. It should be pretty easy.
That's awesome. Go give her a follow, and then give her a mention as well. And in stories, that will be one of your 3 to 5 stories for the day, right? Super simple. You're doing personal development and the story, 1-2 punch right out of the gate. I love it. Well, Bec, I appreciate it. And I know you and I have got plans to do a ton of fun stuff with helping other people and coaching them with attraction marketing. And so I'm excited for that journey as well. And so thank you so much for coming on. I know everybody got a ton of value out of it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.